So we're really excited to be with you here today. And my name, if you don't know me already, is Kirby Rosblock. I'm the founder and U.S. Chief Learning Officer for Tamarind Learning. And Tamarind Learning has been around for a few years. It was sort of an idea back in 2017, 2018. And we rolled out our first curriculum around the end of 2019 into 2020. And so just this past year, we had the chance to build the exciting Canadian learning with Cindy Redu. So Cindy, I'm going to turn it over to you, and then I'll go through some of the goals. And I'm thrilled to have Cindy with us today. So Cindy, tell us more about yourself.
Thanks, Kirby. I'm excited to be here, and thank you everybody for showing up. As Kirby mentioned, I'm the Chief Learning Officer for Tamarind Learning Canada, based in Calgary, but today I'm in very sunny downtown Toronto. I came to Tamarind Learning about 18 months ago with a client who was looking for wealth education for their family. And around that same time, Kirby was hosting a seminar like we're doing today, and I asked her to do a demo with my client. And we loved the platform. We thought it was fantastic and the content was fantastic, but a lot needed to be adapted for Canadian families. And basically one discussion led to another, and Kirby invited me to help build out the Canadian content. So we're really, really excited to share that with you today, and looking forward to your feedback and participation.
Fantastic. Well, I know many of you already know Cindy. She is a leading advisor on the trust, estates, tax, and planning. She has taught me so much about the nuances of Canadian laws and planning. And so for today, we really want to jump in and talk about what are the pitfalls, what are the challenges that advisors are facing when it comes to education and preparing clients next gen for the responsibilities of wealth. So we're going to hit that pretty hard. We also want to share with you the 10 areas that we focus on that we feel are most critical to emboldening for the next gen to feel like they're prepared and they're ready to take on some of those responsibilities. And we're going to share with you more about just our platform, how it can be an on-ramp and helpful to handling some of these pitfalls. Well, Cindy, you want to kick off the first pitfall and talk more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a really important one. It's, what do your clients really know about wealth, and where to begin with wealth education? And this is so critical, because if you don't know what you don't know, it's hard to make a plan from there. And often the advisors don't really know much more than, say, the daughter Susie's in her final year, maybe getting her MBA, and maybe the son Jeff is a physiotherapist. So really, as an advisor, to be able to bring education to the family, we want to make sure that we're covering all the really important educational building blocks and addressing those at different ages and stages and relevant to the family members and where they're at.
That's fantastic. You know, the other pitfall I see is this fear of missing out. You know, a crazy statistic, about 2/3 of next gens indicate that they will likely leave their advisor that now currently serves their parents. So I think there's a real fear too that advisors might miss the continuity or the hand exchange from their one clients to their children. And I think this is a real reality, because another survey actually looked at inheritors, and they indicated that only about 1/3 were working with an advisor, but 90% of them believed it would be valuable to be working with an advisor. So again, building rapport, building continuity in these families requires much, much more than just, you know, advising on investments or advising on finance. That's number 2.
So I'll do
number 2.
Yeah, because this one's near and dear to my heart, Kirby. This is the technical advisors who can actually intimidate our clients with just too much jargon. And especially people like myself, or sometimes people in the investment industry, people who have really deep technical knowledge, it's just natural for us to start using jargon, and we don't even realize we are. And so, it's that we can't often just even see the forest for the trees and jump in even to technical details that really the family doesn't need to know or understand. And ultimately, this kind of approach where we're kind of talking to families like they're our peers at a professional organization conference or something isn't really conducive to cultivating that learning mindset that we want in our family clients, or to us building rapport across generations. Also, I think I just want to mention that there's a bit of a risk, I think, of focusing on content that we're familiar with, but there's so much content out there that we'll be sharing with you today. And Tamarind Learning really does offer that one-stop shop so that you're covering all the bases and being able to present content in a way that will build learner confidence while they acquire that really foundational knowledge they need to have.
That's right on, Cindy. I think it's easy for technical advisors to want to lean into what they know, but it's actually being that really good translator that sometimes it's hard to bring your content to where the client is, not where you are. And I think one thing the pandemic has certainly taught us all, because we're here today, is that virtual learning is kind of our new norm. But when it comes to education, it's just really different. We all know what it's like to be in a room with a lot of other people in a classroom or a conference. And the reality is education that tries to be translated just one-to-one from the classroom to online is not really effective. So one thing we pride ourselves is creating a platform that we think is really unique and different and special, that has a little bit of a secret sauce to help the engagement and also to help the inspiration, finding things that really matter and that are meaningful. Because guess what? 90% of clients are now saying they want to have more virtual engagement as a function of the pandemic, and not always wanting to have to meet face to face. So that's number 4.
All right, well, that leads nicely into the 5th pitfall for advisors, which is this whole notion of how formal of an approach to learning does my client need or frankly want. And I'm sure we've all had different experiences with families, and they're often, going off to conferences, or we're curating, content for them one-off. Some families really like a very formal approach and others don't, and different learners have different learning styles. So what's really fantastic about Tamarind Learning is that it can help bridge these different approaches and be a great supplement to and complementary to the other great educational pieces that families are doing, whether it's through conferences or work with you as their lead advisor. Where learners are comfortable with a structured approach, Tamarind Learning allows for that really systematic building of content so that you, again, are building confidence and moving in. Other family members might feel really comfortable with certain content or just their learning style as they like to jump around a little bit and maybe come back to concepts back and forth and move around. And we have great deep dive content and lots of supplementary podcasts and articles and other information that allow those types of learners to really go beyond the actual formal curriculum to expand into different areas of interest.
And I'm going to talk a little bit about the genesis. I mean, wealth education, we've all been doing it for a long time in different ways, but one client in particular that kicked off the whole need for Tamarind Learning and Tamarind Learning Canada was a family that was pretty complicated, had family all over the world, different ages, different stages, back to these pitfalls. They had a lot of the pitfalls. They had learners at different levels, but they needed to learn anywhere, anytime. And they also needed to have a safe space. So that's one thing that I would say is another pitfall we didn't have on our list. We had a lot of pitfalls we could have added. But it's sometimes hard to create a safe space when you don't want to be the learner asking the dumb question. You don't want to be the sibling or the cousin who this is way over their head. Or, on the same side of it, you want to go deeper. Maybe you are a more accelerated learner in a family and you're kind of bored by the content in a group learning session. So one of the things that happened with this family was the need to develop their own autonomous learning management system, which was our first real stab at education in a very thoughtful manner. Look where we got to today. I mean, it's incredible to think about Tamarind Learning Canada, by the way, being so, there was so much interest from our Canadian clients that this is why we actually fast-tracked getting this curriculum out there. And one of our earliest clients into the US site was actually a wonderful Canadian family right up in the Toronto area. So again, I want to stress how we wanted to build a system that was robust, that could tailor to the core areas, and we're going to get to that next, that could enhance education and complement, right, existing mentoring, existing advising, existing content that might be delivered in a family meeting, but also be something that could help families stay connected and stay focused at a distance, anywhere, anytime. And in terms of our experience, I mean, what we're trying to create, or what we've created, is this virtual sort of learning platform that has things like glossary, document repository, notebooks, and a lot of other features we won't be able to get into today. But we didn't want to disintermediate the advisor. In fact, we wanted the advisor to feel they could be more strategically engaged with their client anywhere, anytime. And this really should free up and avoid that pitfall of advisors trying to figure out how to translate, how to read a trust, or how to translate, basis of accounting. So we took some of those, challenges or pitfalls away and really created a system that helped enhance what advisors do the best, which is advise. So earning the ABS designation is really a really powerful element to our learning program. And so it allows family learners to go through our 10 areas. So when we talk about the 10 functional areas, we look at stewardship, beneficiary fundamentals, trustee basics, the foundations of tax, trust fundamentals, estate planning, investing, working with advisors, trust administration, and personal finance. And so these are the 10 areas that comprise the ABS designation. That is fantastic for anyone really 16, 18 or older, probably need a high school reading level. And, we also have a lot of our content delivered auditorially. So you can listen to it if you're not as much into reading. Cindy, do you want to sort of talk about the 3 breakouts of the ABS designation?
Yeah, I really love this graphic, and the content is so rich. It's honestly such a resource for advisors. So the 3 main programs, which you can do independently. So Kirby just quickly mentioned the Accredited Beneficiary Stewardship Program, which would encompass all of the courses that you're seeing here. But basically there's 3 programs: the finance investing, working with advisors, and trust administration. And you can see the 4 courses that are underneath that. So if that's a particular interest to a family and that's an immediate need, you can do that program and those courses separate from doing the entire ABS program. There's also the Stewardship in Action program, which has the 3 courses there: Stewardship, Beneficiary Fundamentals, and Trustee Basics. But for me, of course, as many of you who do know me know my background, the estate planning, trust, and tax is, that required a lot of Canadianization, as we can imagine. And it's such an interesting area. It affects every family, and it's really great content to understand and make very approachable concepts such as what the heck is a trust, who are the parties to a trust, how are trusts even taxed. So really just breaking it down to those very basic components, even things like different types of income, like what is the difference between capital and income, and how is interest or dividends and that sort of thing, different types of characters of income taxed. And the ultimate, of course, the estate freeze, which pretty much every family that we come across at some point does or will do an estate freeze. And that's a real mystifying concept to a lot of people, and just breaking that down into the basics and making it accessible, but with enough rigor that people will go, okay, yeah, I get it and I understand it. And the advisor is there to supplement and help answer those questions that will come up as they go through the content.
If you want to learn as a group, you can do that way as a family or a mixed group of your clients. So there's different ways to do that, and also to be able to be a part of the cohort experience. You know, in terms of assessing learning gaps, this is another wonderful tool. We're happy to provide you and to share more about where your clients are in terms of their own learning goals. I think one of the greatest pitfalls, back to that first slide, is that we don't know exactly where clients are. And we ask them, what do you want to learn? And it's sort of like, well, I don't know, like, I don't know where to begin. So this assessment can help you gather, where is your client today? Where are they trying to get to? And these are sort of core elements that comprise each of our courses and the underlying modules. So this will give you a really good sense of what we cover and what you can help bring to your client to help them move through a curriculum that's much more strategic. And in terms of applied learning, I'm going to kick this one over to Cindy because she is the mastermind. Don't worry, there's no sound here, but I'm going to push play and she'll tell you a little bit more about an example of an applied case study.
Okay, thanks, Kirby. So I just decided I really wanted to have fun with the estate freeze and decided to create a case study that would be hopefully relatable and not intimidating and would have a lighter feel. And so I just decided that I was going to make this fictional character called Ryan Reynolds. And he might bear some resemblance to the actual Ryan Reynolds, but you know, again, just having this opportunity to create content from the get-go where it's a foundational concept, but it doesn't have to be intimidating. And we can just make it something that family members can access, feel comfortable with. And, you know, we've got great graphics. And the other thing that I just want to point out, Kirby, I think I don't know if it'll link in this format, but there's rollovers. So any of the content that you'll see in red links all the way through all the curriculum to a glossary. So all the terms are defined. And so you don't have to like go back through a whole bunch of courses to find out, well, what the heck does that term mean? The other thing in terms of this applied learning, this is great for building rapport with your clients as advisors, as you kind of work on the different content with them. But we also have homework, which reinforces the learning that they have. So again, it's not designed to be overwhelming. It's designed to tease out those key concepts. And we also offer quizzes and for people who are doing the ABS designation. That's part of earning the designation, but it's another way to test your knowledge. And yeah, there's so many great tools here. If people want to do deeper dives on content, they can do that if it's a topic that's of interest to them as well. You can even upload your own content to supplement what once you've learned the basic fundamentals. So you could upload your own trust deed, for example, after you've learned about the basic concepts of an estate freeze. So I think I'll leave it at that. I'm not sure where we're at with time, but go ahead, Kirby.
Yeah, no, we've got about a few minutes left. I just want to share with you another example of a case study. And again, this is a case that's really about a young woman who is trying to decide about where to move. And so she's given a higher paying job out of province. And so I almost said out of state. So sorry for the US reference there. But this is a great one to evidence why tax is an afterthought and why you should really think about the tax consequences of certain financial decisions and investment decisions, or in this situation, a career decision, and how that might weigh on the opportunity. So again, we really want to take scary topics, or oftentimes perceived as not so fun to learn, and to show how practical and how helpful it can be to start to understand the implications of these different areas. Again, we have a lot of different cool features and functions. So for back to those pitfalls, if you have the advanced learner in the family who you really want them to go through this to also know everything that their peers are learning, there are deep dives, which gives the opportunity to jump in more and to sort of explore different kinds of concepts that may not be something they're going to learn, otherwise. We have interactive tools, and we, have things like, this is an interview guide to help interview for a trustee. Again, these are things that we created. These are tools that allow you to download a sample questionnaire to interview a trustee. So we have lots and lots of different applications and to help families sort of find what they need. Gamification is another really fun thing. We have several things to make things interesting and fun. This is an interactive SWOT used in one of our cases to help them think about the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of their, trustee. And this is from a larger case study. So, and I think we also Cindy mentioned the quizzes. Every module ends with a short quiz of really the key foundational things that have to be captured. So this is just an example. And excuse me, if you go through one of our courses, our free courses, you can actually experience one of them yourself. Just to sort of wrap it up here and to entertain any questions that you have, we'd love to schedule a live demo for you. We'll be sending out links if that's something you want to learn more about. If you decide to refer a client, we're excited to give them a 50% discount, right? If they enroll. Again, we just need you to mention the connection to the webinar. We're extending this through the end of February. And then if you refer a group of 3 or more, we're happy to extend another learner for free, or if you want to connect and add to your group, we can make a cohort. So lots of great resources. Tori, are there any questions in the chat that we can answer, Cindy and I, before we wrap up here?
Yes. Will you quickly address how advisors can track their clients, see how they're progressing through our system?
Sure. So we have a pretty robust back end of this. And one of the things you'll notice right here in the front is that there are these little check marks as we've gone through the outline. So for the learner, they can actually see their progress this way. We also have a whole back end on administration. And in a demo, I'd be more than happy to show you all the different kinds of reporting that we can share and show and demonstrate how learners are passing quizzes, how they're progressing through content, questions that they're asking on the chat board. So we have a lot of different ways to help monitor. So in 1 minute, I probably can't do it justice, but I would love to share and show you more. And we could do that on another demo.
Yep. And then the other thing that we have a question here is, can you speak to how the asynchronous cohorts work? So if a family member is an individual, do we have cohorts that we set up? So how can, if an advisor has a client, how can they engage with the Tamarind Learning System?
Super. So we actually really take it from the client's perspective of what they want. If you, let's say Tori is the advisor recommending the client, we can consult with the family and say, would you like Tori to be included as your mentor? And so what we can do is actually have your profile show up on their dashboard. It would actually show up once they're in the coursework, and it would show up on the side panel. So that allows you to participate as basically an advisor to their learning experience and be there to be messaged to or consulted as they're moving along. And so this is a really helpful way to be present without actually having to be physically there, right? So they know you can instruct them, hey, message me. I'm going to be prompting you to answer some questions in the discussion board, or skip this homework. This one's really important. So that's a really powerful way to be engaged. And we can help you set the family up and connect you to that learning family as a cohort.
Great, thank you. We have an anonymous question that I think is important. Will you set up a cohort for the advisors that are here, or do they need to sign up individually? So my recommendation would be, if you are interested in this, to go through the free trial. You can see up at the link here, there's a free trial that gives you access to our entire stewardship course. You can see all the tools, all of that. And then cohorts are generally family groups, or as an advisory practice, say you have a number of clients who want to go through it, that would be another way for you to engage with them. We do not do cohorts through Tamarind Learning as classes. If you have a large group who you are interested in starting, let's say January 1st, we are certainly happy to work with you on setting up our curriculum on a calendar for a client cohort. The other question that we have is, wealth comes from many industries. Does this impact the course learning?
Hey, that's a great question. We believe that there's a lot of different sources of wealth, and we are experts on wealth education. However, you are the expert on your client and their bespoke fact pattern. So we really encourage you to take the lead on application. So an oil and gas family, you may really want to have a different sort of conversation than an agribusiness family source of wealth, and talking about what the wealth means and how it's connected. So source of wealth does play a big role, but we don't do anything tailored to specific sources of wealth. We talk more generically, and that's really up to the advisor to bring that home. Excellent. And more questions, Tori?
I think we covered everything. If anyone has any other questions, definitely reach out to us, info@tamarindlearning.com. Reach out to us on LinkedIn, wherever you can contact us. We have a contact form here on the website as well. So we are happy to get you some of the materials that have been requested and answer any other questions that you might have.
Excellent. I'm just going to leave you with some more freebies. So our newsletter is excellent, always has timely, interesting content. We have a robust podcast library that's being added to every day, and Cindy is bringing a lot of wonderful Canadian thought leadership to that podcast library. Webinars, we are going to be launching a lot more webinars in 2023. And the Wealth Workbook, if you haven't had a chance to download it, it's free. It's, again, another great tool for kicking off conversations, and being at year end, this is a great time to start having these conversations in the new year if you haven't already. So I just want to thank the Tamarind Learning team and all of the people that participated today, who took time from the holiday schedule to be with us for this half an hour. I know we've gone over a few minutes, but thank you so much for joining our kickoff, and we hope you'll take advantage of some of the freebies and the discounts and be part of our learning journey in 2023.
Thank you, everyone.